back, everybody, to the Quiet Riot Show. Here with Tommy, my lovely, beautiful co-host. It also happens to be his birthday today.
Yay.
And nothing says happy birthday like recording an episode of this show.
That's right. I actually had some people ask me, oh, you're doing a show on your podcast. I'm like, yeah, it's not going to be a very, I don't want to say negative. It's not going to be a very positive podcast, but
that's not true.
It will be. And that's what I mean. Like it's going to be a good episode because
you can have a better attitude about it, or what?
It's something that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
So
it'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a lovely guest sitting next to me here.
Absolutely.
Hey.
You want to introduce yourself? Or should we introduce you?
Yeah, you
Tommy, introduce him.
Okay, so we have Mike Dearman here. He's
I only did that because I don't know your last name.
Fair. Very, very smart.
Right? It's like, when you meet somebody and you don't remember their name even though you've met them a bunch, but you're with someone else.
Right, yeah.
So you introduce your someone else and then you hope they introduce themselves to them. That's what I just did.
Yeah. So Mike is a good friend of mine. We're actually together on the Manitoba Loud Music Award Committee, I guess we could call it. But also we've known each other from the music scene as well. Mike's in a metal band called RAMSKULL.
That's us, yes.
And he's also used to be a podcaster.
Yeah.
And we'll dig into that as well. But I really wanted to hear Mike's story today about what happened in his band and in his life, because it affected his life as well. But we'll get into that after. So let's check in.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We did the intro.
I guess we did.
And now
that's the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. And now we check in.
We do a check-in 1 to 10. How you're feeling, and you can use whatever time period you want, and then we kind of talk about it a little bit. See how everyone's doing.
Yeah, man. So 10 being like life is intense, or
everything's amazing. 10, everything's super amazing.
Yeah.
1, everything sucks shit.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so you're asking me.
Go for it. Yeah. Go for it.
Right now, my life is like super, super stressful. So like, I'd say like I'm buzzing at a solid like 4 right now.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's tough. What's stressful?
Well, I mean,
I'm sure a number of things, but
numerous things. It's just life in general is like really intense right now. Like maybe for me, I'm a low stress kind of guy. I do not enjoy stress, so I do everything I can to
avoid it. So
whether that's like working really hard or whatever it takes to just be on a even keel. So right now everything's like very chaotic. So like, as we're going to talk about, I'm sure like we got the Loud Awards coming up, and that's ramping up and getting very intense right now. We have this memorial show for my friend Shane coming up that is like becoming a very stressful thing. Work is like at its peak, right? We got some financial issues going on in my life and everything like that. So it's just a lot right now. So
all at once.
Yeah, all at once. So.
I am like you in that way. I don't do well with chaos necessarily,
right?
Or not too much of it at one time. And I don't know. There's some people that do actually. There's some people that thrive in that.
Absolutely.
My wife does.
Lots,
Like when things are chaotic and it's crazy, she's like really good at managing that.
Yeah.
And like just buckling down and just like, all right, fuck it, we're going. I don't digest it that easily.
Yeah.
I get grouchy. I guess I am grouchy.
And I also, like you kind of mentioned that life is busy and chaotic, and I mean that I find like it's for everybody.
Right.
I've been hearing that more and more, that people are just really busy with life. And even myself, I showed you my calendar last time, and like,
oh God,
it's just every day there's something, and like we have these 16 to 20 hour days, and I'm just like, I need more hours in one day.
Is that like a growing older thing, or is it a tolerance thing because we're getting older and we have less of a tolerance for how busy it is?
Maybe. I mean,
or is it just different? Because like when I was younger, when we were all younger, like we were all part of a music scene and played in bands and did that. I go to shows like 3 days a week, and I'd hang out with my friends every other day. And I'm like, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah.
When did everything get so busy?
Yeah.
No, now it's like, okay, I have a show in 2 months. Okay, let's put it in the calendar because it's then if it's in the calendar, then it's sacred.
Yeah.
You have a shared calendar.
We do, yeah.
I
actually,
don't.
I know. I talked to your wife actually about it.
What? Oh, when?
Well, she asked
When
me
she
about
was
it.
here the other day?
Yeah. She asked me about it. Like, hey, what do you guys do for planning? I'm like, well, we have a shared calendar, and then she's like,
You son of a bitch.
Tim didn't really like the idea of it. I'm like, oh, no kidding, that's Tim.
So you know where that started? That I always made fun of couples that had a shared calendar,
Of course,
and so
because you were, you didn't.
well,
need
I
one.
was just a dick, and so I then like Rachel brought it up one time, and I thought it would be funny to be like, and we were living together already at this point. We have a child, like. There's no reason we wouldn't have that. We don't have shared bank accounts,
Right?
but like she was like, we should just have a shared calendar. I'm like, oh my God, no. What are you, crazy? Like I made it this huge deal.
Oh, okay.
And then it was funny to see her reaction from that. So now I've just been riding it out, but it's actually become unbelievably inconvenient in my life. But the joke is funnier than the inconvenience is to me. So like
That's pretty funny.
I just keep doing it, and it drives her nuts. Like we share a mortgage. We share, I'd share a bank account with her if she wanted, like we wanted to. But it's like calendar, no, we're not doing that. So it's a joke that is causing me stress that's I just
funny,
refuse to give in on.
That is
actually,
so funny.
do you? Yeah. But thanks for talking to her about
no
it.
problem.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
I
coming.
love it.
It's coming. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm so grateful that she came here without me.
Nice. What about you? How are you doing today?
Today I'm 6.5.
Okay.
Which
why?
is pretty good actually for me.
Okay.
7's to let you know, Mike, and the listeners who haven't heard me say this before. 7's kind of my regular number.
Yeah.
Like I don't ever want to feel very good, but I don't ever want to feel very bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And 7's kind of my steady. So for me to be 6.5 today is actually pretty good. I had a good day. Accomplished a lot of stuff. And I'm just saying today.
Okay.
Accomplished a lot of stuff. Played some golf this morning.
Nice.
Ryder Cup starts today, so for me that's a big deal. I'm going to be watching golf from midnight till noon tomorrow. For those of you who are just listening to this, Tommy's shaking his head.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe
Mike's not. He works in the golf world.
I completely understand it.
I just can't really like get myself to actually watch. Even if like I love playing golf, but I'm not gonna sit there and watch it. Like, first of all, I don't have the time for it. And mind you, it's at night, so I probably could actually
right? You don't
watch
sleep
it this time. But
come watch golf with me
I should,
tonight.
No problem.
It's not far.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't understand people that watch golf. Like it's especially even people that go in person to watch. Even just the Masters, like I know it's a big deal.
What do you mean just the Masters?
I would say that's even like that would be even more desirable.
That's the pinnacle.
That's the thing. Like you just like wait, like
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
That'd be
it's like-
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, the one with
You
Bert
can crush
Kreischer was
beers.
funny.
You go the live golf tournament.
That was pretty
That's a
funny because
different
there was
atmosphere.
cheering. And
Yeah.
I'd be into that maybe, but like the Masters, I'm just like, I'd be the guy with the air horn.
not at the Masters, you wouldn't be.
Well,
at least not for very long.
Not for very long. Yeah, exactly.
One time, half a time.
Yeah. What number are you, Tommy?
Today, well, it's my birthday today, so I was it started off very good. Spent some time with the wife and kids in the morning, so that was nice.
Nice.
And then they left, and then I had the house to myself for like 2 hours. I'm like, yes.
Oh, jeez.
Pants came off.
Did you clean up before I got here?
Yeah. Pants came off, and I did a little dance in my underwear. Like it was awesome. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was just a nice time to sit back, relax, and like I closed the blinds, and I was just watching TV and just chilling. It was really nice. Then had to do some work. And went out for a nice lunch. So again, I'm happy when
Nice.
I have food in my
Oh
belly.
yeah, you went for dim sum.
So I'm
today.
like a solid 8 today.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
I don't know when the last time you were an 8.
I'm a little tired, but
You're always a little
but
tired
I'm always
though.
a
when
little
you don't
tired. Yeah,
sleep enough.
exactly. Yeah, and life's busy again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Okay.
about it.
Sweet.
Okay, let's get into this. reason I wanted to have you on as a guest is your band, RAMSKULL, went through a pretty tragic moment that most bands don't ever want to experience.
Right.
And not just bands, but people. But you guys lost one of your band members to suicide.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know Shane in person, but seen you guys play before. And I've heard many good things about him all the time. And you guys just seem like a bunch of good people. And I've listened to your podcast, Bloviators, and it was a really funny, inspiring podcast.
Oh, hey. Yeah.
It's defunct now, correct?
Yeah.
But can we put the link in the pod script?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we
put
can.
it in
Are
there
you guys
anyways.
on YouTube or
everything is, I think, pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can still get it. Like for sure, like Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. Yeah.
So we'll definitely put a link to the pod in the pod script. But yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, maybe let's start with prior. Like, tell us about Shane.
Yeah.
Who he was, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah. So my brother Shane.
Yeah.
Him and I met in around 2005 ish, right? So he passed in November of 2020. So kind of right when COVID was ramping up, right before we weren't allowed to buy anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, so him and I met way back in 2005 through conversations I've had with other friends. We're trying to figure out when we all met him and everything like that and certain stuff. So he was just like you said, kind of a stand-up dude that, a lot of people had, just like good vibes from the guy. He's always just there to, like chat, listen to you, always on, kind of always on the little guy's side kind of thing, and always willing to speak up for somebody. So like just to kind of give you guys an idea of like the first time I met him, right? I was in a band, he was in a different band. We were playing at the Royal Albert one night.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was when the Albert was really awesome.
Yeah.
Too,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
you
said
those were
2005.
Good. Those were good Albert days.
Yeah, you said 2005. That was basically, I moved here in 2004, and that was like my first venue I ever went to, and I'm like, this is awesome, like amazing. And then every weekend you went there, whether that or the zoo or the Collective, actually.
Right. Yeah.
There's always good shows there for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like it was just, so everybody wanted to play there, and I think it may have been the first time Shane had the opportunity to play there. There was another, like two other bands on the bill for that night, and one of them didn't want to play. Like they hadn't decided what the band order was going to be, and we all thought there was a certain order. Shane went in thinking like, okay, we're supposed to play first. I have to go to work tonight. I have enough time to do this, enjoy a couple bands, go to work. And one of the other bands was just picking at guys, like smaller guys in the other bands and stuff like that, and trying to bully us into letting them play earlier in the set. Right. And like the first time I ever met Shane, he like walked up to the guy and was like, no, we're playing first. And the guy's like, no. Like, I think you guys have more experience. You should play later on. And Shane's like, okay, we're not going to play. And he packed up his shit and he left.
Serious?
Yeah.
So he actually didn't play?
Awesome.
No, not even play.
Fuck,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just kind of stood there. I was like, fuck yeah. Like I was like, because like, how it is, right? Like all the work you put into shows, trying to tell your friends, trying to get everybody to come out, all this stuff, like nonstop.
It's constant work.
Yeah. You load all your shit up, throw it in a shitty car, drive it across the city. And I think it was probably winter too. Like, right? And he just had the balls to just be like, no. And
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was just like, I want to be like that guy. Like, so it was a couple years down the road, and a mutual friend of ours just kind of like said like, hey, like, what are you doing musically? And I'm like, not really anything at the moment. goes, well, this guy I know is looking for somebody to kind of hook up and get things going. And so he kind of really introduced me and Shane, and and we just kind of hit it off from there. And so between that moment, which was probably about 2007-ish, between then we made 5 albums together, and we played like a shitload of shows, and
Nice.
and we started, like we just instantly became brothers at that point in time. Like, I don't have a brother, so I would imagine that that's what it's like to have a brother. I've always kind of thought that, like you can like absolutely hate each other, but at the same time, like you just want to spend time together, hang out.
How did the podcast start?
We used to just kind of hang out and shoot the shit and talk about dumb shit anyway.
Yeah.
and our buddy Dave, who was kind of like our third guy. So Dave is from the UK.
Okay.
And he's kind of, I don't want to say transient, but he's kind of a transient guy, like even now, like he works on golf courses as well. Okay. And it's in about 3 weeks, and it's going to get too cold for him, and he's going to hop on a plane. He's going to go to Australia for 6 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. And then when the snow melts here in Winnipeg, he'll show back up.
Come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's transient.
Yeah. Spend some time in England and go, see some family. And then.
So he did that while you guys were doing the podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
we
you
were
guys
doing
it remotely.
Yeah, we were doing some remotes, or we sent him. We had like little Zoom recorders, so we'd send him with like a Zoom, and he'd like interview some of his buddies or whatever and shoot the shit. So we'd have like Bloviators UK edition or whatever, or Bloviators Down Under. Like, yeah, and then me and Shane would just like hang out and like record an episode about us like laughing about whatever he's talking about.
That's actually pretty. That's actually a clever idea.
That is pretty funny. I like that.
Because like sometimes like we've done a little bit of like remote episodes, and not for this show, for different shows, but the dynamics is kind of not there.
Yeah.
But when you actually do what you guys did, that's very clever, because you get that instant reaction from whatever he recorded.
So I always found that like the band life and like music culture of like being in a band, and we've all, I think I said it already, we've all been in bands, but that camaraderie and that brotherhood is like so, like it's so deep. Like it just, I don't know if it's something to do with like creating something with other people and writing, like going through that process with other people that sort of sparks that level of relationship, or if it's just the frequency in which you spend, like you see each other, which is like, if you're a band making albums, writing songs, playing shows, like you're together, I don't know, 4 or 5 days a week, really. And like, depending on what age you are, I know guys now that do it once every 3 weeks, but
sure.
Well, it comes to also the level of your,
But if you're like really trying and you're going for it and you're doing the thing, like how often did I see my bandmates? Like some amount of them, like almost every single day.
Oh yeah, and I know bands, Dreadnought, like they lived together. They were from Thompson. Yeah. They moved to Winnipeg. They basically rented a house and they all lived together. So yeah, you've created this family, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, that's exactly what we did, and then we all kind of grew together as well in our lives. Like like so many people or bands, right? They grow apart. People, some guy somebody has a kid, somebody gets married, somebody gets a different job, or whatever, and it just falls apart, no matter how good it is or whatever. Because like, I mean, that story is like super common, right? And just like him and I, like Shane and I got like. I got married, and then like 6 months later he got married, and like then like I had my first kid, and then 3 months later he had his first kid, and it was just like we were going through life stages at the same time too. So
which was probably really good, because you can relate to issues, problems, or just like even like you were tired for having a baby. Like Jesus, well, you never went.
I never had that. No.
But
never had the pleasure.
It's nice to actually be able to talk to somebody about the same problems that they're.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Not even. I wouldn't call them problems.
Challenges.
But the same things. Yeah, challenges.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah,
it's challenges, and just like and of course at like that stage in your life too, like just being able to like somebody who understands what you're going through, like never mind like just the challenges themselves, like so.
Well, and like, someone who knows you personally so well.
Yeah.
So that when you vent or when you you're bringing up a concern or a challenge that you're going through or whatever it is, like they understand you to the point where they can do something with that.
Yeah.
It's not like meeting someone for the first time and trying to have that. You can't take two dads. Maybe you could. I'll use mums. You can't take two mums who have newborns and expect them to understand each other's challenges in necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
If you know someone at an intimate level, which you and Shane had all these years of history, like it's just different.
Yeah.
There's a different understanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we're that's kind of our relationship, you know, like I had like some side businesses for a while where I was like selling music and all stuff like that. I was very close to opening my own music store at one point, you know, and stuff like that. And so he would help me out with that. I'd help him out with stuff in his, you know, around his life and things like that. And so like we really were like very much family, the two of us, right? Like, and it was it kind of came from a place of like admiration and things like that. So it was like built on like really good fundamental like feelings when it came to, you know, it's kind of, you know, like it really, in maybe a lack of a better way of putting it, or maybe a really good way of putting it, it really was kind of like a really healthy marriage between the two of us, right? You know, right?
For sure.
So was RAMSKULL created by you and Shane?
Yeah,
essentially
the long story or short version of it is we were in another band together that we started. It was called 16 Eyes.
Okay.
And went through, you know, like the typical like gamut of like, oh, we've had 15 drummers and 3, you know what?
Fucking drummers.
Winnipeg's known for not having drummers.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and you know, I'll apologize to the person now who shall remain nameless for the moment or whatever. But we didn't want to kick out a really good friend out of the band. So what we did was we just started RAMSKULL.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So RAMSKULL kind of came from that, and we just went from there.
Yeah,
right. So and that, you know, so that would have been around 2017 or so.
Okay.
And we put out an album. We did like a Western Canadian tour, did a bunch of stuff, like tried to, you know, and was like pushing it. But then like everybody dealt with like COVID hit, and you know, that was that.
Just kind of killed it.
You know, so underlying all of that though, like if you listen to 16 Eyes lyrics, Shane wrote all lyrics, sang all the songs. I'm like a backup guy, screams and everything like that. I'm not a good singer at all. Like it's not a thing for me.
I've heard
it's just not your thing. That's okay.
You're actually really good, Mike.
Okay, dude. I'm not a confident person when it comes to singing. Anyway, screaming, percussive. It's like a percussive thing for me, so I can like, you know, convey what I'm doing. But yeah, singing thing I'm not too confident about. But I appreciate the compliment though. Thank you. But yeah, so he was like mostly lyrics and we're fundamentally like, I mean, Shane wrote most of the songs, right? And like we'd just like add to it, and it was kind of our thing. Like he was obsessive, absolutely obsessive. He worked jobs where he could work midnight shifts, and he was in security, right? So he had a lot of downtime just watching the screens and stuff like that. So he never went anywhere without a guitar. So he had a guitar in his locker at work.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
And would just write and like for periods of time, unless we were like recording or doing a lot of shows, I'd wake up every day to a new song in my inbox, and and like produced too. Like he would write guitar parts, he would add vocal parts to it, he would program drums into it, and like they'd be pretty rough sounding, but at the same time it was like a legitimate full song.
Also, well, you got the idea.
Also writing a demo and even doing a demo version of something in a day is that's tough.
Yeah.
Like that and to do it all the time is even harder.
Well, like that's the thing, right? So like he would sacrifice other parts of his life to be able to like obsess, right? So
like music was very important to him. Like, it was part of his life.
The most important thing, like debatably, right? Like the most important thing, right? So he has 2 boys and he was married, and and they were very important to him. That was very clear. But to feel like him and I were talking about it, to feel alive, it was music.
Yeah.
Right. Like so, and like I find that very relatable, except to the point where I don't obsess over like writing a new song every day or one week or whatever, right? So, but lyrically, like very dark, always, right? And we never really thought anything of it, and then now knowing what we know now and looking back, and it was like, holy shit, this is pretty crazy.
There's actual signs.
Pretty crazy.
Now was there a time, obviously you got to know the lyrics, you knew them, you knew all the words, you knew he wrote them. Was there a time while that was happening where you saw anything going on with him? Like, generally someone who writes like that, and I'm making assumptions about what it is, but I think I can grasp it enough without hearing it. But like someone who writes like that and is so obsessive and so honest with the way they write music, like obviously he wouldn't write something that was bullshit because it was too important to him.
Yeah.
And so did you see things? Did he have a journey he was on with his mental health that you had started to notice at some point? Or was there a shift or a point where you saw it?
Yes and no, until close to when he committed suicide. Right. So, every now and then I'd check in and be like, this is pretty dark, dude. You okay? Oh yeah. Like whatever. Like, so,
shake it off. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the guy was quite possibly one of the most intelligent people that I feel I've ever met. Right. Like he had his degree in anthropology, and, so kind of back that up a bit. Like when he was finishing school and he's working midnights in security, he used to do security at the Richardson building. So you'd see the craziest stuff downtown. Yeah. And then on the flip side, like me working in the golf industry, really early mornings and things like that. So my shift would just be starting when his shift would kind of be ending.
Okay.
Right. So, there was times where I had like 45-minute drives to work and stuff like that. So I'd just shoot the shit with him. I'd be driving to work, right, telling him, talking about stuff, and he'd be telling me stuff about like his day and everything like that. So we'd like kind of check in with each other and see things. And occasionally, it'd be like, wow, those are some pretty dark lyrics or whatever. And he would just be like, oh, I was reading about a war from like the Mayan kingdom, all this stuff, right? Yeah. And you'd be like, okay, like I can, like that's all good, right? So
the lyrics kind of made sense.
Yeah. So like you didn't really see it that much, but then when we started doing the podcast, that he'd be very like self-deprecating, very hard on himself, very like make lots of jokes at his own expense. Like if you listen to it, if you listen to it, you do like you don't really hear it at first, but then like if you hear it and you're like, okay, he's like being very difficult, on himself and things like that, and started to see things, and then he had kind of like a major thing changed in his life. And things went bad, like from there, right? And that's when like red flags started going up like crazy, and we started checking in with him multiple times a day.
It was that like it. Yeah, it was that much of a warning.
Yeah,
sign.
Like this is a guy that like I said, like absolutely live for music. Nothing was more important, right? And then like we had like studio time booked and everything like that, and like he messaged me and he's like, I can't afford the studio this week, so like like you guys can go, or like if you guys can handle it without me or whatever, like and we're like, are you kidding? Like, no, we're not going without you. And since when has like money been a factor between us? Like it's always, it was always like money's obviously a factor always, but
we'll figure it out.
It was like, okay, well, I'll take on the slack this time, and or whatever, right? Like it was always like, we'd been down that road many times where it was like, hey guys, like I'm short like $500 or $300 or whatever, and the rest
just
of us
figure it out,
chip in and look after it, because I mean ultimately we all have a good like a common goal here. So we started doing stuff like that, where it was like, okay, like, what's up, dude? You know, like, and like, this is a guy that, like, you know, talked to him like multiple times a day, like through Messenger and all sorts of texting back and forth and all this stuff, like for well over a decade, to like almost radio silence, right? So we
so how did that feel for you, seeing that transition happening?
Well,
and sorry, just throw in another question. When was that happening? What was it, like a year prior, or like just kind of the timeline?
That would have been early September.
Okay.
You know, and he passed like November 4th.
Okay, so that was still within that year.
Yeah,
okay.
It was. Yeah, it came like really quick.
Okay,
like in I felt like it came like really quick. So, you know, I didn't at first. You know, like you're like, is he mad at me? Like, did I do something?
Yeah.
Did I piss him off? Right. So like you know, like you give the guy his space and stuff like that. Right. You know, thinking like, okay, like, you know, whatever. And then, you know, I started talking to other guys, you know, like, hey, have you talked to Shane or whatever? And then, you know, like, so it slowly became like, hey, like, okay, none of us have talked to him. You know, so like, okay, there's a bigger problem.
Yeah, it wasn't
here.
just you.
It isn't me, like, I didn't make him mad and he's just needs a break from me. This is now like, he's not talking. It's radio silence with everybody.
Exactly. Right. So then, like, you know, but by the time we got to that point, it's a couple weeks beyond that, right? You know, like between like when you start kind of noticing what's going on. And then,
well, and what's a couple weeks when you've known someone for 15 years,
in
like
in reality,
or 10 years or whatever,
nothing,
like,
right? Yeah, you know. So, and then, you know, there's COVID happening and minor lockdowns at that point and everything like that, and no, like, misinformation and all that fun stuff that's happening, especially at that point of COVID. So, you know, like, he said to us, so he's like, oh, I tested positive for COVID. That's why I've been, you know, like, started kind of giving us like excuses and diverting, you know, and stuff like that. Cause like at that point I'm like messaging him like privately, I'm messaging him like where people can see it, you know, all this stuff, like, and telling him like, hey man, like, I love you, dude. Like, you can't, like, you're not alone, whatever's going on, man. Like, and he's like, oh no, I have COVID or whatever, you know? And so you're like, okay, well, I'll give him, you know. And so a couple days went by and I like just started checking in with him again. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Like, are you okay? Like, at the time, like, I didn't even know anybody who had COVID at that point, right? And now he's got.
Well, and you hear all these crazy stories about it where it's like some people feel nothing and some people need to go to the hospital. Like, you.
Exactly, right? So
what, are you going to take a gamble that your friend's the one who like just doesn't feel anything? Like, no, exactly. you're going to check in and like, hey man, like, you had COVID, so, or you told me you did, so like 3-4 days in, like, any improvement? What's going? Can I bring you some fucking soup? Like, I don't know.
Exactly, right? And so he, you know, I can't remember exactly the excuse that that he gave me, but it was basically, I knew immediately. I'm like, okay, this is bullshit, right? Like, he's just diverting, whatever. And so me and Dave were like, we started getting a hold of like other friends that like weren't in our immediate circle, and we're like, what's up? You know, like have you talked to him? What's going on, right? And so we found out that he had left home. He was living in it, like, isolated, like, there, you know, without really getting into personal details.
Sure, that's not ours to know, but
just kind of for context, right? And so he needed to get a psych evaluation, is what he needed to do, and for his life to kind of resume. And he had them canceled on him. Like, he was scheduled for a psych evaluation and then had it canceled.
Oh, like, he had actually reached. He had actually reached out because he had done everything. He already felt like something was. Well, he didn't. He didn't sound like an out of touch or stupid guy.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
So. You know, so you're probably self-aware.
Yeah. So
to a certain extent.
To the best of my knowledge, you know, he had that scheduled and canceled on him about 3 times.
Fucking great.
That's That's such a piss off.
COVID, I'm assuming COVID stuff.
So, well, just,
I guess you never know. And only share his news as much as you want. Like,
I just don't want to.
That's not everyone's to know. And so,
exactly.
Well, and we're not here to paint a bad picture.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, basically, from then on, I mean, he just refused to talk to people, refused to, like, family members or close friends would try to go see him, and he would see them for just moments.
Like, did you have any communication with him during that time?
Not like only through like text or whatever.
Like, you weren't. There was no more hanging out at all.
No,
not even an hour. Or not like.
No, like, so like one of the things that we love to talk about on the podcast was like aliens and conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
We did entire episodes on Skinwalker Ranch and
things.
Shit. Loved that shit, right? So I was working at Assiniboine Park one day, and me and another buddy saw, like, we were watching, and we just happened to be looking up, and we saw like the craziest movement in the sky, right? Like, it was just like
wait, how many beers was it after?
No, 0 beers. 0 beers. We were at work. It was kind of the craziest thing. Like, as an aside, it was like there was like probably a dozen lights in the sky that were moving like super erratically, and like in different parts of the sky, right? So it was like, okay, whatever that was, right? Like, but like super cool to see, right?
It definitely was podcast worthy.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. So like, so I sent him, I'm like, hey man, you wouldn't believe what I just saw, right? All this stuff. Like, it was, and
is it the Greys or the lizard people, or who was it?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. But I didn't get a reaction back out of him. He was like, oh yeah,
okay.
Sounds like you saw something weird. Yeah, and that was it, right? And like normally that would have turned into like a 2-hour conversation, right?
He would dive right into it too.
Yeah.
Tommy, among all the episodes we've recorded, there's one common theme, and that's getting therapy. We've talked about it lots.
Many times.
You had a really tough time making that first phone call. I had a tough time making that first phone call. I didn't even know if the person I was going to see was the right person, but you got to just try. Thank goodness we have a sponsor that makes it way easier now. BetterHelp has an online platform that allows you to fill out a questionnaire. They connect you with a therapist, and you get to communicate with them however you want. So whether that's text messaging, that's emails, that's through their app, that's video chats, you get all those options, and it makes it way less scary to be connected with someone. And if you're not into the person you talk to, they'll sign you another one right away. I've gotten assigned mine already, and I can't wait to use it. Like, by the time you hear this, I will have had my first session, and I'm super pumped to talk about it on the show.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it, and like, it's very easy to sign up. It took us maybe 5 minutes to sign up. And you answer just simple questions, and next thing you know, you got a message that you will be paired up with a therapist. And within the same day, we got the therapist already, the name and a message from them, and we were able to communicate with them. So it's extremely easy. So please go to BetterHelp.com. Yeah, that's the thing. BetterHelp.com. /Quiet Riot Show, and you get to also enjoy 10% off for your first month if you sign up using this link. So again, right here, I'm going to be doing it from here. Yeah, it's BetterHelp.
Am I screwing it up?
.com /Quiet Riot Show. Yeah, sign up today, and you're not going to regret it, because I'm already enjoying it. Just the fact that we connected with a therapist.
Me too, man.
Thank you to BetterHelp for supporting this podcast.
Dave and I were trying to come up with a plan to try and see him, right? Get him out of the house, get him everything like that. And we were talking to a couple, like another good friend of his. And we knew that he was bad. We knew that things were not good. His life was upside down. And I'll just remember, like, it's just as clear as day. Like, I was picking my kids up from school, just sitting in my truck, waiting for their bell to ring, and that other good friend just phoned me, and he's like, he's gone. He's gone. I was like, what are you talking about? He's gone, right? Like,
yeah.
He's like, no, he passed today. Like,
Fuck.
yeah. So, yeah. So it was just like that quick. It was crazy, you know? So like in that moment, it's like, you're like, okay, I got to get my kids,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You have to do,
Yeah. And then it like, you know, so like you know, like you compartmentalize the moment and take care of what you gotta take after or look after. And then like it was just like the most crazy, like I still can't put it into words.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it's something that I didn't think I would ever deal with, you know, and kind of being like, for lack of a better way, being like Shane's right hand man kind of thing for years, right? So I'm the one who starts making phone calls, right, and starting phoning like other bandmates and friends and things like that, and telling them what happened and what's going on, and
that must have been so hard.
oh man,
Well, you just don't get an opportunity to process it yourself.
Yeah,
because it's just you're having a different conversation every 15 minutes with someone else.
Yeah,
and I never stopped apologizing. Right, like I'm just like, I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry to tell you, like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm so sorry. And like listening to other people react on the other side of the phone, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm so like, I'm like, it just like, it was like, so focusing, because I didn't want anybody, like, there was like a really good circle of friends and family, or like that we considered family, you know, to that I didn't want them to find out on Facebook or whatever, right? So we were trying to keep it like off of Facebook. And
well, now you got to make those phone calls like in 45 fucking seconds, because it's going to end up on social media.
Yeah,
it's pretty much what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
Like it, you know, like I phoned Dave like immediately, and David already knew, like the same person who told me phoned him and told him, right? So him and I had, you know, a moment together, right? And then it was like, okay, well, I gotta start phoning people. I gotta phone the other guys in the band. I gotta phone, you know, all this stuff, long-term friends that we had together and stuff. And it just, even talking about it, it was like a complete outer body experience, you know. And I don't think it was probably like 3:00 in the morning when I woke up, and I was just like, I couldn't handle it. I was crying. I couldn't, you know, it was like, and I didn't even know. It was like I woke up and I was crying, and I woke up and I'm like, and my wife is like, just like, you're good, like, let it out, you know, like, like she was like really, she was really great. Like, you know,
because this is, I was just kind of thinking right now, listening to you, that even if I wanted to get ready for something like that, let's say I would even practice a speech that I would have to do, you can't really, it still doesn't do justice until when you like, it happens, and now you're in that situation
when you're in it,
and your emotions kind of take over. So even if you had practiced the speech, you forget all that, because like your brain just has a fart, and like you forget about everything, and now you're feeling all these crazy feelings.
I went numb when I had to make those phone calls in my life for somebody. I just kind of went numb. It was all like you said, you kind of just like blacked out. Like it literally feels like that. I don't even think I could go back and remember the phone calls and the people I spoke to in that moment.
Well, like, quite literally, the only thing that I really remember is like apologizing. Like, like that's why I bring that up. Like, that's like a core memory to that, right? It's just like, you know, everybody I was talking to, you know, it was just like, hey, what are you doing? Are you safe right now? I gotta talk to you. You know, and just kind of like deep breath and just let it go, right? And it's not something I ever want to do again.
I don't wish that upon anybody ever.
No.
You know, it's, you know, so like I said earlier today, like I'm checking in at a 4, right? And maybe a decade ago or so, maybe longer or whatever, if I was checking in at a 4, maybe I'd be feeling pretty bad about myself. Maybe feeling like I don't want to be here anymore, or right, like don't think that I've ever truly been suicidal, but I think it's normal for people to like question their worth and their value.
I think so.
Yeah.
And if they're maybe it's just easier not to do this.
I don't think just because you question or you consider the idea of suicide, I don't think that means you're suicidal.
Right.
I think those are different things.
I would very much agree.
I'd be shocked to honestly speak to anyone who hasn't had a moment in their life where they went, maybe it'd be better if I just wasn't here.
Yeah.
Like, and in honesty to themselves, like really said that. And so like, I know I've had those moments for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I know you have, and
them,
I'm assuming the way you're speaking, you have. And so like I don't think that's the same as being suicidal.
Right. No, I'd agree 100%. Like now, like experiencing suicide, you know, like,
right.
Like as as pretty much as close as like I the only thing that may be more intense maybe like is being like having a partner or a child that
but even the way you spoke about Shane, he was family, he was your brother.
100%.
You lost a family member, so
100%. Yeah. So like,
so what was the after what was your process? How did you process after? if you're willing to share that with us.
Well, it's in a bunch of ways. Like at the time, you know, obviously the world is upside down, if not becoming upside down. Like, well, everything that we know is kind of just different at that moment, right? So like I just remember it being so vividly that like, okay, like Shane died on the 4th of November and our first serious lockdown was we had already been locked down once, but like where
the second wave
when they wouldn't, you know, you couldn't Christmas shop. That one was November 12th that they locked that down, right? Okay. So life was so crazy, you know. So like there was a bunch of things that happened that made the roller coaster speed up and slow down, if you know, like so. Shane's wife contacted me and asked me if I wanted to come see his body and say goodbye, right? Because like they're not letting funerals happen and things like that, right? Yeah. So, or people that aren't immediate family attend these things,
which
right?
was fucking bananas.
So
stupid. It was so fucking. That was mean.
Yeah. So
mean's an understatement. That's not even the right word for that.
Exactly. Right?
It's appalling, is what it is.
Yeah. So we. I didn't have to think about it too long, but I was like, okay, like I'm gonna regret not doing it. Yeah. If I say no, right? So I'm like, I will come. I'll come see him, you know. And then it was like a day and a half later where his wife called me and she's like, they just changed like all the rules. You can't come. I was like, okay, you know. So like. In the beginning, I was like holding on to that to get some kind of closure, and then that was gone. Right? So it's like, okay, well, at the time, I mean, I will say like our music community, like just scooped me up and was just like daily check-ins from like like dozens of guys.
That's
like,
awesome,
dude. Like, how are you doing? Are you okay? You know, what's going on? Like, you know, and just being like, how's Shane's family doing? How's, you know, like all this stuff. So like, there was some like some really key people that was like just like were amazing for me, right? So and then there was the other guys in the band. So like it was like, okay, it's clear that like we need to keep everybody cool, like, you know, like how are you, like, so it was like everybody was checking in with each other like constantly and everything like that. So like we really pulled together, and it was really, and this is why we're still a band today, is because it was like, it was very clear we all cared about each other, and it was very clear that like that what we were doing, and for better or worse as to like if somebody liked the music or not or what we were doing, but we were doing it together and it all mattered to each other, right? So that became very clear. And so when Shane died, he didn't really he left a note for different people and things like that. And he left a note for me and the other guys in the band. And we had finished about 90% of our Parasitic Sapiens album that we put out this year.
Yep.
And he had just said, finish the album. You guys have worked way too hard. Right. So it was kind of like,
oh, man.
Yeah. So, but in a weird way or not, that gave us something to focus on. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, he's gone. This sucks. This is awful. This is the worst thing I've ever had to deal with, quite literally. And, but it gave us focus. Yeah. So being able to it was March of 2022 when we finally got into the studio. So a good 18 months had passed before we could finally,
which is totally understandable.
Yeah,
to you guys well, because even just I think picking up the instruments and not having your brother stand beside you, just getting into that mindset must have been really hard.
It was tough. It really was. So we at first was just we were just going to try and finish this album. We all agreed that we wanted to we all really liked playing together and we wanted to keep playing together, and what that looked like we weren't 100% sure. But then we finally got into the studio and finished that album, and then started the ball rolling and everything like that, and kind of we were able to scoop up another member into the band, and that was actually another friend of ours from way back. We had done some played some shows out in Edmonton and Calgary with the 16 Eyes crew, and the guy that came out with us there, Jamie, who's now our full-time drummer for RAMSKULL, he was just he was up in the air with no bands happening at the time. So I just talked to him. I was just like, hey, do you want to come do this thing? We're just going to try and play some shows and get this album out and honor Shane in that way. And he was all for it. So that focus, that long-term focus too, in the beginning, like I said, it took us 18 months to be able to get out and be able to play this enough to get the studio. And I mean, it had to do with COVID restrictions and number of people being in the same room and all that crap. But ultimately, that's how I coped with it, was just being able to know that I was going to be able to do that for him. And
that was a big relief.
Oh yeah. So
coping's a great coping mechanism to have that.
So to me, there's two things that stand out, and one of them is kind of cheesy, but the one thing is being able to finish the album, and the second thing was getting this tattoo.
Okay.
It was after I got it, it was I just felt entirely different. Yeah. It was just I didn't know if I was worried about not having that relationship, and how I didn't want over time for the importance of that to go away, and those things, right? Even to this day, I do weird things on Facebook and doing friend searches or something like that. If he's not at the top of my friend search, I make sure that I search him a couple times. So it's weird. I haven't changed my profile picture, and it's him and I together. Right? And stuff like that.
Well,
right?
It's comfort for some of that, and it's reminders, and it's good. The thing is, there's, and never to minimize the volume of that circumstance, but there was so many years before that were so good, and so how do you remember those and not forget this one, but don't let it cloud too much of the other one either? And I've gone through this, and so it's hard. It's hard to do that. And people like us dragging you in here to talk about it doesn't fucking help.
No, actually, I am more than happy to talk about it.
Well, we've chatted a little bit about it, and you right off the bat, he's like, "Yep, absolutely."
Well, and people have to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Nobody fucking knows.
That's the thing, right? So was kind of like, when I thinking about my own mortality or questioning, you know, like, should I, you know, like, would it be better, you know, like I could just be, you know, and all those things, right? It's like, you never know how, like, I never would have expected that it would have felt that way, you know, right? Like, and I just believe that it's absolutely crazy as to, like, the wake that it created, right? And like the people that talk to me about Shane and like, to this day, right? And be like, yeah, he was such a rad dude. And I'd be like, you know, like, I didn't know you even knew him, right? You know, and he's like, oh no, I just used to pay attention to him online and stuff like that and stuff like that, you know. So it really has changed. Sorry, I just gotta
do your thing.
Sorry about that. The perspective that you gain from and looking back at it and everything that happened and the feelings and everything like that. And I wouldn't wish how I felt, like, on anybody, you know? So like, when, you know, people are having a hard time or whatever, right? Like, I found now, like I was saying, one thing I've, like, super concentrated on trying to do now is, like, you play a show with somebody and everybody does that typical, hey, good show, man. You know, like, when you see the band before you, whatever, good show. And then it's like, whatever, right? And like, I just have, like, no interest in that anymore, right? Like, I, like, want to be like, hey man, like, that was wicked. Tell me about something, right? Like, I want to have, like, a connection,
like a real conversation.
Yeah. So if somebody says good show, you should be like, well, what did you like?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like,
well, and I'm guilty of doing that too. Like, I did it for years, and like, great show, great set. Like, I wasn't even fucking there. I'm standing next to the stage because I'm next.
Yeah.
Like, before that, I was outside or in my van.
Exactly.
Like, and like, it's brutal. It's like, if we all should have more sincere reactions with each other. And like, in the music world, you all have something so big in common.
Oh yeah, we talked about it a little bit, that it's just kind of like saying, hey, how are you? And then keep walking
How's it
by,
going?
right?
Good.
Yeah,
like,
right. And then
that sucks.
So it's kind of, it has the same feeling.
That's exactly what it is, you know. So
good show is just the musician's version of how's it going.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Hey Tommy.
Hey Tim.
I heard that one of our sponsors got sold to new ownership.
That's right. And if you guys noticed, we didn't have them for last month, but they're back.
They're back. The pizza oven is back. They have new ownership. They have new menu items as well as all the old classics. You tried one of the new ones, or a couple of them.
I tried the chicken tandoori pizza and it was absolutely fantastic.
You brought it to my house and I smelled it, and it smelled unreal.
Yeah, you were on your keto.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, so it was fantastic. It was so good.
Awesome. So they've got a bunch of new menu items, and they've been generous enough to sponsor our show on an ongoing basis again. And so thank you, Pizza Oven. For those of you not in Winnipeg, you don't get to enjoy it. Too bad. They're located at 1215 Henderson Highway, Unit D in Winnipeg. You can give them a call, 204-949-3000. Also, we have a promo code that you can use if you order online through their website, and that is QRS15, QRS15, and you'll get 15% off your Pizza Oven orders. So everybody's still loving the Pizza Oven.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, get your pies. And I know they have lots of game day specials as well for the Bombers, the NFL, and the Jets as well. So make sure you guys check them out.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that with us. That shit is awful. And again, I appreciate you being willing to drum up those feelings. Not that you don't feel them every day, but to drum them up and talk about them again. Not like you don't talk about them every day, but I really do appreciate that you share that with us. Unless you've been in that situation, it is really hard to understand or see what that is. And it's like a hindsight 2020 situation, and not that you could stop it or change it necessarily, but there are things you can look for and see and notice that maybe are bigger alarms than you'll take them for in those moments. I'm just speaking from my experience, and I'm not projecting on you, but for me in those experiences, like there are definitely things that you, looking back at it, like, oh, why didn't I catch that? Oh, why don't we catch that? Because you never fucking expect that is the outcome. And to overreact to those things is a way better reaction than to underreact to those things. Yeah. And I've only learned
100%,
that from going through that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that you had talked about that I picked out of some of that is like major changes in life that aren't exciting or positive changes, major changes in people's moods or activities or routines. Like those are huge things to keep an eye for.
Yeah.
I think they're cause for concern, and it doesn't mean that person's going to go and kill themselves, but it means that person needs something. Something has changed in a big way, and they need something different than what they've had. That's my take on it. Do you want to maybe touch on some of that?
Yeah. I mean, that was, for this scenario, this situation with Shane, that was like the big, like, red flag alarm bells going off and everything like that. But, so I mean, I can definitely guarantee that if I had another friend and started experiencing those things again, like there'd be nothing stopping me from trying to help this person, right? Yeah. Like I would handle it differently entirely, right?
But you can. There is nothing that can prepare you for that.
No,
ever.
No, and truthfully, every scenario is probably so uniquely different that So one of the things that I've just so bringing up like how you talk to people at shows and things like that, right, is just that like I'm decided that like I'm not gonna hesitate to tell like a good friend, hey man, I love you, dude. Like tonight was amazing, whatever, right? We saw a movie, right? Whatever, but like that was like I'll hold on to that, right? So like I promised myself that I'm never going to like just not, that person's going to know that they've got somebody in the moment, right? When you look back at things and you see signs, and like in Shane's case, there's like, dozens of songs that the guy wrote, right? And how, where maybe the trajectory of his life was headed, and things like that. And, whether or not that is an indicator or not, because we're playing heavy metal.
Well, and dark music is dark music,
and it's a release.
It can also be it can also be a huge release, or it can be a huge tell, or it can be both. Yeah,
exactly right. So I think in his case, it was a little bit of both. Too, right. Like there's certain things that in the songs you listen to them and you're like, oh man, like he talks about dying a lot, right? Like there's, and like he had like just like certain lyrics and stuff like that, and that hit like way harder now, right? Especially, it's like, oh shit, I wonder if he was thinking about this, or I wonder, so, but to like the hindsight thing, like the hindsight is 2020 saying, right? And it's like, wow, it's definitely what I like. So to wrap that up, like
it's okay, take as long as you want.
No, we're not in a rush. Too wordy here.
No. Well, and I think for me, we're trying to, if people who haven't been through this just have a few more tools or one more tool to keep an eye out, or things they can notice, like those little moments can turn into things that potentially can save someone's life.
Absolutely.
Potentially. Not guaranteed by any stretch, but if you love someone, wouldn't you want to try? And like everybody 100%. Does. And so that's really what I'm trying to, is people who haven't been through this or don't know how to see this or haven't seen it, what can we tell people about what do you look for? What do you do with that information?
Yeah.
Every person's depression or suicidal thoughts or suicidal potential actions are unique and different.
Right.
It does not act in a similar way at all.
No.
But there are some similar, I think I've learned that there's some similarities in behavioral patterns or changes that can at least spark a reason to start asking questions.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
That's a little wordy in itself too. But.
No. I mean, how do you wrap how do you put a bow on it? Right. You know, like
you can't,
that's probably the biggest part of the problem.
Yeah. Right.
Because every case is so different.
Yeah.
And everybody feels so different and experiences things in such a different way. You know, so for me, right, like to, you know, reiterate, like I just made this decision that relationships and experiences, I just want them to be as genuine as I can make them. And that's why I was like, yeah, I'll come on this podcast. I will say, like, I'll talk about the feelings, I'll talk about it, you know, and if I sit here and cry, like, I'm very cool with that.
Oh,
yeah, we're all good. We're all good in this room.
I'm very good with that.
We actually had a guest that, you know, shed some tears, and that's totally okay. And part of me, I have some friends that send me, you know, a couple of reels, and they're saying like, hey, don't be a little bitch, you know, like put your feelings. And I'm just like, it's okay. It's okay for men to cry and break down, because we've talked about it on a couple of episodes ago that, like my upbringing was all about that. And I kind of felt ashamed. And why should I feel ashamed for feeling something that's breaking me, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe in Shane's case too, maybe he felt a little bit that way, that he wasn't able to open up. Not sure what his upbringing was, but, you know, maybe he had that in the back of mind. That I can't tell my friends about how I'm feeling because whatever was going on in his life, right?
Well, I think for him, and it might be a common thing too, I don't know, but when you start kind of talking and saying it out loud, like, I think he didn't want people to worry about him. I don't think he wanted people to be sad or concerned or those things. Like, I don't think he wanted those things, right? Like, he felt the way that he, and he needed something. He needed, you know, right? But I think that's what like, knowing him the way that he did, because he was so, like, if somebody else was in a bad place or was unhappy, he'd be like trying to make things better for them. He would, you know, like, one of the things, like, that was kind of going around the music scene for a while is like, there was, you know, like, this guy's not cool, that guy's not cool, you can't trust that person around women. And like, there was the list that was going on.
Drama.
That was going around, right? And like, what he wanted to do is he like, you know, like, I mean, Shane is not overly like imposing dude, right? But like, him and I were about the same height. We're 5'11" or whatever, but Shane was like 300 pounds. Like, he was a big dude and not like sloppy.
That's a bulky man.
He was like, he had like, his knees were like the size of volleyballs. Like, he was just he was a huge dude, right? And like, at the time, like, I was probably like, you know, 225 pounds too and everything like that. And like, what he wanted to do is he was like, okay, we're gonna go to shows, we're gonna let all the girls know, or any of the women know, that if they need to go to their car or they need to like wait for a bus or whatever, that we're going to come and we're going to stand with them and we're going to walk them from the show and we're going to make sure that nothing happens to people. Yeah. And that was his thing. Like, I mean, like, I was like, hell yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. I'll be a part of that. Like, that's that. I like being stand-up, dude.
Yeah.
You know? But that was him. Like, that, you know, that wasn't me sitting in my, you know, living room thinking that I'm going to do that. That was him. But
know? That same, and it's so shitty because that same level of care and concern for people and all that actually turned into a reason to exit.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
and
exactly
like,
it. Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, when somebody, and to the best of my knowledge, again, all of this is just my own experiences,
of course,
and what I've learned, but when somebody does that in a lot of cases, and I won't say all of them because I have no idea, but in a common amount of them, that's actually in their mind at that time, that's the best solution. And it's not just about them. Yeah. Like, it's like, oh no, this is the perfect way to fix all of this.
Yeah. And
it's not just an escape. It's not this like,
no.
it's actually not, they don't view it as this cowardly escape from their problems. They view it as like a solution to their problems and other people's problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And you summed that up perfectly. Honestly, no, because like that's, of all the times I've like replayed this scenario in my head and everything that like, and thought to myself, you know, being a father myself, right? Like how dark of a place or how desperate of a place must you be to like say goodbye to your kids or to, you know, and all those things, right? You know, like at times, I mean, like that, like that's your moral compass, right? To like, you know, to like make better decisions or to, you know, whatever. So for him to be beyond that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. I think we all heard the part where like, you know, when you hear about suicide, everyone says, "Oh, I wish we could tell that person that, you know, we aren't better off without you." Yeah. Right.
But it doesn't.
And you hear that, but when you get that dark,
but
you don't.
But the
pay
thing is,
to that.
we hear it and we process it with our brains.
Yeah.
The way we feel, and like, yeah, we mean it. Like, don't do it. I love you, but like. Yeah.
At that
you haven't even scratched the surface of how that person's thinking, and like, or a lot of people, we don't give them the opportunity to speak honestly about it. They get chastised or they get thrown in the fucking mental ward, which maybe is what they need for a period. Yeah. But like, you have to heal that. That's a healing, and that's a big, deep healing. Yeah. And telling someone you love them is great, and it really is important. And like, not just people in your life that are sad or struggling. Like like you talked about, like. If you love somebody, fucking tell them. Yeah. Tell them often and tell them every time you see them. But that's not going to save someone's life.
No.
Because they know you love them. Like, they're very aware that you love them. It doesn't change the way they're processing what's going on with them that's going to lead to that potentially lead to that decision.
No.
Well... maybe we can wrap there.
Well, yeah. So let's.
I'll thank you again very much for being candid and coming and being willing to share.
I really appreciate it.
The more people who've been through what you've been through that are willing to speak and share their experience, I think the more people will learn and be able to treat this thing differently. And so I think it needs to be treated differently. And we're on the way there, but it's people like you that will help that happen.
100%.
Now you've got a show coming up. Let's switch gears here just a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's promote it. And
your band's playing.
Yeah.
Give us the details.
Okay. Yeah. So it's October 13th.
Friday.
Friday the 13th.
If you're listening, we're in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yes.
I know we have some listeners outside that probably won't make it, but you're welcome to come.
People from Europe want to come for sure. We do have some European listeners too.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to go. You got time to plan.
I mean, this will be released on a Monday and the show's on Friday. But yeah, like, I mean,
sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
Priorities, people. So yeah, we are actually, it's basically 3 years in the making here. Trying. We've always wanted to kind of honor Shane in some sort of way, right, and give him, a musician send off, if you will, right? So we have it's like I said, October 13th at the Handsome Daughter here in Winnipeg, and the band that's opening up is called The Heat Ain't Hot, and it's actually Shane's brother's band who's opening, right? So, and he had some affiliations with 16 Eyes and everything like that. So, and then we are going to do 2 full sets of Shane's music. So
nice.
we are going to do a 16 Eyes set where we have like guest singers from Winnipeg. So Mike Mason from Inhumed is going to do a couple songs with us. We are going to have Violet is going to sing a couple songs with us, and like Violet is.
I saw the other day she shared a picture. I was like, oh my god, this is going to be great.
Yeah, she is ripping hard. Like it's like she like. I knew that Violet was a great singer, but holy shit! Like she sent me a clip of her rehearsing one of the songs, and I was like, oh my god! Like if we could do this for real, like this is so good, right? Nice. So. And then we're gonna do so we've got Violet and Mike Mason and a couple other like cool singers that are gonna come in and do some stuff with us, and some other guest musicians, and then we're gonna do a full RAMSKULL set after that, and then Inhumed is gonna close the night So
beautiful.
Yeah. So, and Inhumed was like basically Shane's favorite local band too. So it's kind of like all revolved around him, you know. Unfortunately, like kind of brought up earlier, with restrictions and all that stuff, there really was no goodbye for a lot of people. Yeah. So I think this is going to be that for a lot of people. So we're going to do some cool stuff. Like we've got some like, we're going to do, like a constant slideshow of just stuff like show posters and stuff with Shane's life and all that stuff, and pictures with us and all that, and then we're in between bands. We'll do like some Bloviator clips, and like we got lots of video and stuff like that. So we'll do like little.
I'm looking forward to it. That's gonna be great. Yeah.
So and then we actually got a couple of like solid donations where we're not able to get some T-shirts made up, so people are gonna be able to like purchase like some like memorabilia or whatever if they so choose. I don't know, you know, it's kind of a weird thing saying that like, hey, buy this T-shirt, your friend died, but
I don't know, it doesn't even sound that weird to me.
I don't know, it kind of feels
I mean weird. I hope when I die, you know, you guys make a T-shirt.
I'm not making shirts for you. Fuck you.
Yeah. So and then like every because of like some of the donations that we've gotten and everything like that, we're gonna be able to donate every penny towards men's mental health.
Amazing.
So it's gonna
That's so great.
Yeah, everything's gonna go to the Movember Foundation.
Sweet.
So one of like that was kind of like one of the big things that was like we wanted to make sure I went to men's mental health, and so Movember's so good towards like just like men's well-being, like whether it's like health wise or mentally, you know. And so that we're gonna go whatever we get.
I think Movember kind of started for testicular cancer, but I think it kind of over the last few years it kind of swayed a little bit towards just generally
men's health.
It's the men's health, and I love that.
I do. I mean that's why we sit here and do this
now. Mike, are you going to shave your beard?
Okay. The answer right now is no. However,
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so my own little life journey here is that like I've been trying to get healthy, trying to like lose some weight and so that. So I told myself if I got down to 190 pounds that I would shave my beard off, because part of the reason why I have a beard is because I have a fat face.
Same as me. Yeah. Absolutely.
What is what's that one comedian? It's sweatpants for your face.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
But you know, just another idea for the show to raise more money. You know, if you throw it there that if you raise like X amount of money, let's say $1,000, or you know, put it high up. Yeah, you'd be surprised how much are people willing to pay just to see you without the beard, because we've done that. We've done that at our other podcasts.
I don't ever want to see you without a beard again. It's awful.
We raised over $1,000, and me and Brett.
Okay.
We actually paid for a straight razor.
My barber, I paid my barber to do it.
That was fantastic, because we really looked horrible.
Oh yeah, you guys looked fucking like trolls. Like it was awful, but
that's a really good idea.
Just if you know, you set a goal, and if that goal is reached, you know, then just do it live right there. Just get somebody to shave.
There's a price to what your friends will pay to see you feel awful about yourself.
That's a really good idea. I like it.
And the price isn't even that high.
And in RAMSKULL, I think there's more guys with beards, right?
It's a metal band. If there's 5 guys in the band, there's 3 beards.
So there, you know, there's potential to raise a lot of money, because people are awful and they will want to see you without a beard.
People want to shame their friends.
Yeah, that's actually, I like that. I like that a lot. Actually, that's perfect.
That's great.
Well, I love. Even though it was a tragic event, I like that you are focusing on actually paying attention to your friends now, going forward, because it is very important. And so am I kind of doing this show. Lately, I noticed myself too when somebody, because we talked about the how you doing, and people answer like, and I'm just like, ooh, I'll stop right away. And I just try to like, hey, what's going on? Everything's okay. You know, I try to just at least a little bit pull. Yeah. Obviously, not everyone as comfortable as us here, you know, talking about some of the feelings. But I try to actually just talk to people about it a little bit, like, hey, what's going on? And it is a great feeling too that I started to care a little bit more about people, and so I love that you found a way to kind of cope yourself with this shitty situation.
It is definitely a coping mechanism, and I definitely appreciate that, because it's nobody wants to be like, you want to be real, right? You want to right? But like
100%.
So if the people around you, like, just like, I just want to have genuine conversations. Right?
There's a fear and vulnerability for a lot of, and I'll speak for men.
Yep.
There is a fear and vulnerability for men, and like, I think that's changing. I do feel like that's changing. I think the music industry has, as far as men in the music industry, especially some of the heavier, more outlying genres, have found a way to do that in their own way. For I'm not going to say they're ahead of the curve, but they're artists. We're artists, and so it's a little bit different. But I think my huge takeaway from today with you is that exactly. And like, I need to tell more people I love them when I love them, and I need to have more genuine conversations with people. Absolutely. Regardless of how much time I have or who they are. There's something more important. Yeah. And that is more important.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
We do have a little present for you.
Oh, dude.
You don't have to open it. It's that exact mug.
It's that mug.
We'll just do one of these.
That's right, yeah.
I don't know if you drink coffee while you're sitting on your ass at home all winter, but
whiskey tastes really good from that too as well.
It's pretty good,
But yeah, so that's
I
for
did that
you.
for like the first two episodes. I drank whiskey out
and then
of
we just
a mug, and then I was like, oh, this is bullshit.
We should start promoting our own mugs.
We need whiskey glasses.
That's right. Oh, there you go. That might be the next one. We just gave away our first mug last episode, and Kevin actually reached out to us. So he is from Manitoba, but he lives about 2 hours outside of Winnipeg.
Okay.
So I think we should do a road trip, go out there, have a couple of drinks with him.
Take it to him?
Yeah. What do you think?
Does he live in Brandon?
No, not all the way at Brandon, but just I'm not gonna
on
say
the
where
way
he
to
lives,
Brandon.
But like it's a little bit off, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go.
But I think it would be a fun just like on a Friday, go out, have some drinks, and
I'll go.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do that. We'll try to figure that out. But anyways, again, Mike, thank you very much for coming here today.
Thank you so much.
Your story.
Good luck with your show. I hope it's awesome.
I think I'm gonna try to make it.
Hey, we'd love to see you.
I'm getting vasectomy on the 10th.
Oh,
so
you can go to a show.
I can go to a show, but I just have to. I can't get into the mosh pit.
Ice your balls and sit. You'll be fine. You're sitting at home or you're sitting at a show,
right? Maybe,
I too have been there, and you should be okay by day 3.
I think so. It's on the Tuesday.
But you gotta get a few more days out of it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here, man. I really do appreciate it, and I hope I see you again. I really mean that.
This is really great. Yeah.
And that's probably it. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Just make sure you guys go to Instagram at Quiet Riot Show and follow us. Send us messages if you'd like. We have an email. What's our email?
quietriot@gmail.com.
That's right.
Did I get it right? Fuck yeah, I'm killing it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you got it right. Yeah, send us an email. We're going to do an episode where we're going to read the emails. Obviously, not going to mention any names, but we got some really good stories, and we can actually like dive into some of those issues, and I can relate to them. I
have read them. If you've sent them, I've read them all. I may have not responded, but we're going to do a show where we delve into that a bit. So.
Absolutely. So, and again, follow us on YouTube as well. If you'd like to see our beautiful faces on YouTube, then you can check it out there. Make sure you subscribe, and also give us a review on Apple Podcast if you'd like. But
see you later.
Yeah, thanks. All Quiet Riot Show episodes have been recorded and produced by Suver Media. If you think you have an idea for a podcast but don't have the space or proper equipment, please visit suvermedia.com for more information. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please hit the follow button and leave us a review if the platform you are listening on allows you to do so. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Quiet Riot Show, and follow us on the Instagram page @Quiet Riot Show. Please share this episode with others that may be interested in these topics. If you know anyone that would enjoy these topics, feel free to share our podcast with them. Also, let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch with us in the comments on our channel and social media, or send us an email to quietriotShow@gmail.com.